Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life where the tables turn. The very people who once overlooked you will suddenly want your attention. The ones who dismissed your value will come back, realizing too late what they gave up. But hear me, don't take them back. Stop romanticizing the return of someone who couldn't recognize your worth the first time. When they walked away, they made a decision. And so must you. You cried over them, didn't you? You begged for clarity. You replayed every moment, trying to find what you did wrong. But let me tell you this, Challenger, enough, you didn't lose them, they lost you. And when you finally rise, shining in the fullness of your healing and purpose, they'll wish they had stayed. They'll scroll through your life from a distance, peeking into your joy, your growth, your success, and regret will sit heavy on their hearts. But by then, you will have evolved beyond their reach. So don't entertain the apology that only came after your breakthrough. Don't welcome the attention that arrived after your glow up. Some people are seasonal, meant to teach, not to stay. Your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Let your heart be guarded. Let your boundaries be strong. Your future be brighter than the betrayal of your past. Forgive them, but don't restore their access. Love them from afar, but don't lose your direction. They had their chance. They wasted it. Rejection is a bitter pill to swallow. It wounds. It bruises. It can shake you to your core. Whether it comes from family, friends, lovers, jobs, or opportunities, rejection cuts deep. It whispers lies that echo through your mind. You're not good enough. You're too much. You're not worth the fight. But let me speak life into you right now. Your worth is not defined by rejection. Your value is not up for debate, not up for vote, and certainly not up for approval by those who couldn't see it. You see, many of us have built our identities around acceptance, striving to be chosen, to be liked, to be approved. But if we're not careful, we allow others to become the mirror that reflects our value. And when they walk away, when they ghost us, when they say we're not enough, suddenly we start believing that we're broken, that we're unlovable, that we're not worth staying for. Let me remind you of something powerful. Just because someone failed to recognize your worth doesn't mean your worth vanished. Diamonds remain diamonds even when buried in the dirt. Gold doesn't lose its value because it's been passed over. What you carry inside you, your gift, your love, your purpose, is not diminished because someone failed to honor it. You may have been rejected by them, but that doesn't mean you're rejected by life. That doesn't mean you're rejected by purpose. That doesn't mean you're rejected by God. Rejection may hurt, but it's not the end of your story. In fact, many times it's the beginning, because sometimes the doors that close on us are actually divine detours. Sometimes the people who walk out were never meant to walk with you in the first place, and sometimes the no you hear is just the echo of heaven saying, I have something better. Rejection isn't always personal. Sometimes it's prophetic. It's a redirection in disguise. You were crying over what didn't stay, not realizing it was blocking what needed to come. You were holding on to hands that couldn't hold your future. You were begging for seats to be filled that were never assigned to your destiny. Don't you know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made? That you were knit together with intention, not accident? You are not disposable. You are not random. You were not made to be tolerated. You were made to be treasured. Stop shrinking to fit places that were never meant to contain you. Stop watering yourself down to be digestible to people who couldn't handle your full flavor. If they walked away, let them go. If they overlooked you, let them watch from a distance, because you will rise not in spite of their rejection, but sometimes because of it. Rejection will teach you to turn inward and upward. It will lead you back to your source. It will show you where you've depended too much on approval. It will expose where you've built altars to people who were never meant to be worshipped. And in that space of brokenness, you will find healing. You will find clarity. You will find yourself again. Because here's the truth, if being rejected by them broke you, then you gave them too much power. And now it's time to take it back. You don't need their apology to move forward. You don't need closure to start over. Sometimes closure is a lie we tell ourselves because we're afraid to release what we already know is dead. You don't need to know why they left. You don't need to understand every betrayal. You just need to remember who you are. And one day, very ones who rejected you will look back and see the person they overlooked. They will watch you rise from the ashes. They will see the glory that emerged from your grief. But by then, you will have outgrown them. You will have healed beyond the reach of their regrets. This is your season of remembrance, not to remember what they did, but to remember what you carry, to remember the power inside of you that doesn't shake just because someone didn't choose you. You're not meant to chase what walked away. You're not meant to convince someone to love you. You are meant to stand tall in your own light and attract what aligns with your truth. So the next time rejection comes knocking, don't crumble. Don't question your identity. Smile, lift your head, and say, this is not the end. This is the clearing. The clearing for new doors, new people, new growth. The clearing for the kind of love and purpose that doesn't require you to shrink. Your worth is not a reflection in someone else's mirror. Your worth is built in, eternal, unshakable, and no amount of rejection can erase what has been divinely written over your life. I will no longer internalize rejection as a definition of who I am. I will no longer let someone's inability to love me become the foundation of my self-worth. I am valuable because I exist. I am worthy because I was created with intention. I am enough, then, now, and always. Sometimes the greatest blessing you'll ever receive won't come wrapped in comfort applause or congratulations. It won't look like favor. It surely won't feel like a gift. Sometimes your biggest breakthrough is hidden inside something that broke you, like the unexpected exit of someone you thought you couldn't live without. We all know the pain of people walking away, the silence, the unanswered texts. The promises that turned into confusion. The ones who said they'd stay, didn't. The ones you gave your heart to, only to have it returned shattered. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't random. It wasn't just a personal loss. It was a spiritual alignment, a divine appointment masked as a painful goodbye. Because sometimes before God blesses you, He subtracts. Before He adds to your life, He removes what's in the way. And what's in the way is not always something bad. It can be something familiar, something comfortable, something you pray to keep. Some exits are orchestrated by heaven, and you won't understand it in the moment. You'll cry, question, replay the scenes over and over in your mind. You'll ask, why did they leave me? What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? But listen carefully, you didn't lose them. They were released because they couldn't carry the weight of your next season. There are some places God is taking you that not everyone is qualified to go. Some tables are set just for you, and not every face from your past can sit there. If you bring the wrong people into your purpose, they'll poison the promise. They'll delay the journey. They'll distort the vision. So before elevation comes separation, before glory comes pruning, and before fulfillment comes loss. It doesn't mean you're unlovable. It doesn't mean you're unbroken. It means God saw something in your future that required a shift in your circle. People exit your life. It's tempting to see it as rejection, but more often it's redirection. The end of a chapter doesn't mean the end of the book. It means something new is being written, a better storyline, a plot twist, a divine unfolding. You prayed for growth. You prayed for peace. You prayed for purpose. But when God began to answer your prayer, it didn't look like an opportunity. It looked like someone leaving, because growth often starts with letting go. Some exits are an act of mercy. You didn't know what they were doing behind your back. You didn't see the jealousy, the gossip, the manipulation, but God did. And He loved you too much to let it go on. So He allowed the distance, the separation, the heartbreak, not to destroy you, but to deliver you. Yes, it hurt. Yes, you didn't see it coming, but you survived it. And not only did you survive, you're wiser now, stronger now, clearer now. Their exit taught you how to depend on God, how to find your voice, how to stand when everything around you felt like it was falling apart. Because let's be honest, had they stayed, you would have stayed the same. You would have kept compromising, kept shrinking, kept waiting for them to see your worth. But now you see it for yourself. You're not begging for love anymore. You're not chasing after approval. You're walking in purpose with your head held high. Their exit forced you to face yourself, to discover your identity apart from who they said you were, to find healing in your own voice, power in your own walk. I challenge joy that doesn't rely on their presence. And when you look back, you'll realize that what you thought was abandonment was actually alignment. What you thought was rejection was really God's redirection. The door that closed saved your destiny. The truth is, God doesn't always explain. He doesn't always send warnings. Sometimes he just removes. And when he removes, he does it for a reason. You may not see the reason now. You may still feel the sting, but one day you'll thank him for unanswered prayers, for divine delays, for detours that didn't make sense at the time, saved you in the end. That's why you can't chase after what God released. You can't go back and try to reopen a door he closed. What walked away is not your assignment anymore. Stop romanticizing what nearly ruined you. Stop trying to resurrect what God buried. When someone shows you they're not meant for your journey, believe them, care enough. Because here's what you need to know: what's coming is better than what left. Your future is not tied to the ones who left. Your identity is not routed in their opinion. Your value is not shaken by their absence. When God allows people to exit, it's not the end. It's a clearing. Care enough, a clearing for better relationships, for deeper purpose, for greater clarity. You are not alone. You're being set up for something bigger than what you lost. So hold your head up. Stop playing the pain. Stop grieving people who don't grieve you. Your worth is not in who stayed or who left. It's in who you're becoming. It's in who God says you are. It's in the divine plan that's unfolding even now beyond what you can see. And when the dust settles, you'll look around and say, care enough. I didn't see it then, but now I know. That exit was my setup. That goodbye was my breakthrough. That ending was my beginning. And you'll no longer mourn what was, because you'll be too busy living what is and stepping boldly into what will be. Care enough. There will a time in your life when the very people who hurt you, doubted you, abandoned you, or betrayed you will return. Not to fix the damage, care enough, but to ease their own guilt. They will bring apologies, carefully crafted words, and maybe even tears. And while your heart may want to listen, while your soul may crave the closure, let me speak this truth into your spirit. Don't let apologies undo your growth. It's not that apologies don't matter. Hey, they do. A sincere apology can be powerful. It can bring healing, restoration, even reconciliation, and care enough. But here's the danger. Not every apology is meant to lead to reentry. Not every, deserves a reset. Care enough. And not every person who returns deserves a seat at the table they once walked away from. You see, growth is painful. Healing is hard. And care enough. You fought battles in silence. You cried yourself to sleep. You questioned your worth. Care, and you learned how to live without people you once thought you couldn't live without. You built strength out of brokenness. Care enough. You picked up the pieces of your heart and built something sacred, a new version of you. That version of you, the one who rose from rejection, who learned how to stand tall without validation, who no longer needs permission to feel worthy. That version of you is precious. Protect it. Care enough. Because here's what often happens. Someone leaves your life in chaos. They wound you deeply. And when they return with an apology, care enough. The temptation is to slide right back into the old patterns. You forget the nights you questioned your sanity. You overlook the weight of their absence. You dismiss the pain of their betrayal. And in a moment of vulnerability, you shrink to make room for them again. But understand this, care enough. Not everyone who apologizes has changed. Some people apologize not because they care about your healing, care enough, but because they feel uncomfortable watching you thrive without them. Some come back because their life didn't turn out the way they expected. Care enough, because the people they chose or you failed them. Because now they see the value they once ignored. And care enough. Recognizing your worth now doesn't erase the damage they did when they couldn't see it. It doesn't entitle them to be part of your healed journey. Growth is sacred. It is divine. It is not just about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. And part of being whole is understanding boundaries. Enough. Not every bridge needs to be rebuilt. Not every door needs to be reopened. Some things need to remain closed. not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. You can accept the apology and still keep your distance. You can forgive without re-engaging. Care enough. You can love someone and still recognize that your peace is more important than their presence. Sometimes, and care enough, we hold on to people because we're afraid of what life looks like without them. But let me remind you, you've already survived their absence. You've already learned how to thrive alone. You've discovered joy in your own space. Don't trade that independence for emotional manipulation disguised as repentance. And yes, people can change, but real change is proven over time. Enough, not in tearful words and empty promises. If their apology requires you forget how far you've come, it's not reconciliation. It's regression. Care enough. You were not put on this earth to be someone's lesson, someone's maybe later, someone's backup plan. You are not a holding place for people to come and go as they please. You are not a rehabilitation center for the emotionally unavailable. So when apologies come, and care enough, listen with grace, but respond with wisdom. Ask yourself, does this person support who I'm becoming? Or do they only miss who I used to be? Do they honor my growth? Or are they trying to access the version of me that tolerated what I no longer accept? Healing changes your standards. A growth makes you outgrow places, people, and even past versions of yourself. What you allow then, you no longer tolerate now. What you excused before, you now confront. What you once thought was love, you now recognize as control, fear, or dependency. So when that apology shows up, through a message, a call, or an unexpected conversation, pause. Don't rush to restore. Don't be so quick fix what was never meant to be whole again. Instead, care enough. Look in the mirror and remember how far you've come. Remember the nights you prayed for strength. Remember the seasons you survived alone. Care enough and remind yourself that growth is not worth trading for comfort. Yes, forgive, always forgive, but never forget the lesson. Never forget the version of you that rose up from heartbreak, confusion, and pain. And care enough, never forget that you don't owe anyone access just because they finally realize your value. Because there's something greater ahead. Enough. Something that matches your healed self. Something that aligns with your calling. Care enough. But you can't reach for what's next if you're always grabbing what's behind. You are no longer who we were when they left. So don't let a few words undo the work of your growth. Don't let guilt or nostalgia tie the knots you've already untangled. Don't let your compassion become a cage. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful, liberating choices you will ever make in life. It is strength in its purest form. To forgive is to choose healing over hatred, peace over poison, freedom over bondage. But hear me well, forgiveness does not mean access. Too many people confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. Care enough, they think that just because you let go of the anger, the bitterness, and the pain, that you also let that person back into your life, your space, your care enough, your trust. But that's a lie, a dangerous lie. Forgiveness is your responsibility. Access is their responsibility. Forgiveness is free, but access is earned. You can forgive someone completely, bless them from afar, wish them nothing but good, and still recognize that they do not belong in your life anymore. You see, forgiveness is internal. It is the work you do inside yourself to let go of resentment and pain. It's the decision to stop allowing the offense to control your thoughts and emotions. It's the moment you say, you no longer get to live in my head rent-free. But access is external. Access is boundaries. Access is discernment. Access says, I can love you from a distance, and I will not allow you back into the same space you once violated. Yes, you may forgive your ex. That doesn't mean you have to date them again. Yes, you may forgive your friend who betrayed you, but that doesn't mean you have to trust them with your secrets again. Yes, you may forgive your family member who hurt you deeply. That doesn't mean you have to keep them at your dinner table if they still bring chaos into your peace. See, there's a misconception that if you truly forgive, you must reconcile. That somehow your healing isn't real unless the relationship is restored. But restoration requires two healed, responsible people. Forgiveness only requires one. If the person you forgave hasn't changed, if they still lie, still manipulate, still wound, still disrespect you, then inviting them back into your life is not an act of grace. It's an act of self-betrayal. You worked too hard to become who you are now. You prayed too long. You cried too many tears. You broke cycles. You healed wounds. You peeled off layers of trauma. You learned how to breathe again. You are not required to reopen the door just because someone says, "I'm sorry," because some apologies come with no change. Some people apologize not because they see your worth, because they miss the access they once had. They miss the comfort, the convenience, the way you made them feel. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you who tolerated being mistreated. You've evolved. You've grown. You've set new standards. And those standards are not a punishment. They are protection. Protection for your peace, your future, your calling. Letting go of the pain doesn't mean you must let go of your discernment. It doesn't mean you silence your inner wisdom. It doesn't mean you abandon your boundaries in the name of love. This is not about revenge. This is about responsibility. You are not punishing people by creating distance. You are protecting the future that God has placed in your hands. Some relationships were seasonal, permanent. Some connections were lessons, not life partners. Some doors were meant to close, and when they did, it was mercy. Forgiveness doesn't mean you pretend it didn't happen. It doesn't mean you erase the memory. It doesn't mean you ignore the consequences. It means you choose to no longer be held hostage by someone else's actions. But you still get to choose how close they are to you. You do not have to re-invite them into the space where you were broken. You do not have to hand them the same level of trust they once betrayed. You do not have to make them comfortable at the expense of your own peace. You can be kind and clear. You can be loving and guarded. You can be peaceful and distant. You don't need to prove your forgiveness by putting yourself in harm's way again. You don't need to validate their apology by offering them the same position in your life. Growth means things change, and sometimes that includes who gets close to you. They may not understand. They may accuse you of being bitter, cold, unforgiving, but let me remind you, you are not responsible for their comfort. You are responsible for your calling. So yes, forgive. Forgive often. Forgive deeply. Let your heart be clean, soft, and light, but be wise with your access. Be mindful of your space. Be selective about who gets close to your soul. So walk in grace, but walk with strength. Forgive them. But don't forget what it cost you to heal. Don't forget who you had to become to get to this place of peace. Don't let guilt or manipulation twist your clarity. Don't confuse closure with reunion. Challenge is a call on your life, a purpose that's been placed within you since before you were even born. A destiny that's greater than your past, stronger than your struggles, and more powerful than your pain. But let me tell you something that many never say out loud. Not everyone will be happy about your progress. Not everything from your past can follow you into your future. And not all distractions come in ugly packages. Some come dressed as comfort, nostalgia, or unfinished business. Because every time you take a step forward, there will be something or someone trying to pull you back. Every time you begin to grow, evolve, and transform, there will be voices from your past, old habits, old relationships, old environments, calling you by the name of who you used to be. Not because you owe them anything, because they're uncomfortable watching you become who you were always meant to be. And here's the truth, not every distraction looks like destruction. Some distractions feel like home. They feel familiar. They feel like the thing you used to run to for comfort. That old friend who still talks like you're stuck in high school. That ex who shows up just when you've finally healed. That environment you escape but sometimes daydream about when the pressure of purpose gets heavy. But don't let your memory trick you. Don't let your loneliness lie to you. Don't let your history hijack your destiny. You've cried too many nights, fought too many inner battles, endured too many seasons of silence to trade your peace for familiarity. Protecting your destiny requires discipline. It means saying no, even when it feels easier to say less. It means choosing solitude over company that drains you. It means being misunderstood for walking away from what others still settle for. There are places God is taking you that not everyone can go. There are levels of purpose that require a different mindset, a higher standard, a deeper commitment. And if you keep letting old distractions back in, you'll keep sabotaging your own future. Distractions are not always evil. They're often subtle. They don't show up with red flags. They show up with memories, with conversations that feel like closure, invitations to just catch up. But here's what you need to ask yourself. Does this bring me closer to my purpose, or is it a detour in disguise? You have to become so focused on where you're going that you no longer have time to entertain what's trying to keep you in who you were. The old you would have answered that call. The old you would have responded to that text. The old you would have kept the door cracked for just in case. But the healed you, the maturing you, the growing you, you've got to close the door, lock it, seal it with clarity. Because the truth is, every time you give attention to an old distraction, you delay the assignment on your life. You extend a season that was supposed to end. You reopen wounds that were finally healing. You trade growth for comfort and purpose for nostalgia. Here's the hardest part. Sometimes the distraction is a person you love, a place that shaped you, a habit that soothed you. But growth demands honesty. Honesty says, this may have been good to me. It's not good for me anymore. It takes courage to walk away from what no longer aligns with your destiny. You must choose your future over your feelings, your calling over your comfort, your vision over your history. You weren't created to stay stuck in the same cycles. You weren't designed to keep repeating the same heartbreaks, friendships, or failures. There's something greater on the other side of your discipline. There's something more powerful waiting beyond your resistance to let go. That's why you've got to protect your mind, protect your time, protect your energy, protect your peace, protect your space like it's sacred. Because it is. The more you protect your purpose, the less access distractions will have to derail you. Don't be surprised when the enemy tries to repackage old distractions with new faces. When familiar pain shows up wearing a different outfit. When the same test appears in a different form. That's why discernment is key. You've got to be so rooted in your identity and purpose that you can spot a distraction even when it's wrapped in a compliment. You're not arrogant. You're aware. You're not distant. You're discerning. You're not heartless. You're healed. And healed people don't return to what broke them. Focused people don't pause for distractions. Purpose-driven people don't waste time explaining their growth. Every conversation you entertain with a person who no longer aligns with your growth is time you could be pouring into your calling. So the next time the old distraction calls, whether it's a person, a temptation, or a mindset, let your silence be your answer. Because your destiny deserves your full attention. Your future deserves your full commitment. And your purpose deserves more than being postponed for another round of lessons you already learned.